in conversation with Sanjoy Roy. Over to you, Sanjoy sir.
I have to begin by confessing this. This is one of my fan moments because everything that people ever accuse me of being, I have to blame her for it because when I was at the end of my schooling, I came to Delhi in my 11th grade, and I chanced upon this incredible teacher who loved and was impassioned with literature and with theater. And much of the rest of my life was actually shaped by those couple of years where she was instrumental in making sure that I never attended one class, that I got, I think, 4% in mathematics, and also that I got admission into St. Stephen's College. And as they say, the rest is history. It's absolutely amazing to have here Prem Krishnan. This particular book that she's written and which has been designed by Sunandani, and I don't know whether Sunandani is here. I hope that she would be here. Sunandani, why don't you just come up front for 2.5 seconds, because we really wanted to acknowledge you. And Urvashi, I don't know if Urvashi is here, the publisher, but Sunandani did this beautiful design of this book. Many of you may know that Sunandani also designs all of Seagull Publications' incredible catalog, which is the much prized catalog for anybody to get their hands on. And on behalf of all of us, I'd really like to thank her and give her a big round of applause. Thanks, Sunandani. And having said that, when Sunandani's first design arrived and Satyajit and I conferred and said, so what do you think? And I said, oh, I love it. And immediately I told Satyajit, why don't you just check with her what her viewpoint is? She had one look at it and said, this can't be. Absolutely not. And in a sense, this is what she is. It's always defined her. She's always been very clear about the kind of person she is. Nothing about her has ever been about a hesitation. She's been a person that all her life, she has lived her life on her own terms. And this wonderful book that she's penned, and which I would really recommend for all of you, especially the women, the ballad that ends the narrative, is one of the most incredible ballads written in our times. And remember, at the young age of 89, this is a story that she's talking about of about 60 or 70 years ago. Having said that, thank you so much for agreeing to be here, and thank you, Satyajit, for bringing her here.
Well, I should say thank you. As we say, words are all that we have. But one thing I must contradict here, though I acknowledge the kindness that all of them have shown me, that Sanjoy never learnt it from me to shift the blame on the other person. I don't acknowledge that. However, it is incredible pleasure. Teaching a class is all right, but to face a full hall of people, I'm really grateful, and I hope I am not too disappointing. This book is nothing but what I think the best word I find in talking about it or sharing is Sanjhe karna. In Punjabi, we have an expression which in Hindi would mean the same. हम आओ अपनी experience share कर लें. It's not that I talk to you, you talk to me. All samvad, all talk is always sharing. It's a conversation. To me, this, as I write in the afterword, it is such a deep felt joy to reaffirm through these pages that there is, as it were, a stream of tender affection warmth and concern for other permeating in our lives. So very often we have felt the touch of its ever so gently lapping waves caressing us, taking us into its warm embrace, mending us, restoring to us, to ourselves, and reassuring us of the engulfing tenderness of humanity. This is my firm faith. There is, and as I say, I reaffirm this faith. There is some, which we can't escape, some strength, some, we cannot deny it. We just care. We are warm. We are looking after each other, though we may sometimes not pretend. We are affected by others, and we provide that stream, as I call, of affection around us. But another point, quality may be too big a word to use. I have noticed that in spite of our inevitable desire to share life, to be part, not intrudingly, but really to converse with people, to be part of their life, not in an intruding manner, but because you have to be there, they have to be for us, is another particular quality. There is that remarkable quality, the firm faith of a person in his own worth as an individual, his pride, his respect for himself, his khuddari, which he would ever guard and ever assert. So I have felt all through life, and which I have tried to narrate in this book, the two qualities or whatever, that we feel warmly towards people. We can't help but feel warmly towards people. We want to care, we want to be cared for. And another thing is, we can't suppress an individual. When we want to be together, it is at the same time khuddari, I am I, that we assert and guard.
Mrs. Krishnan, you've always been, to say the least, ghamandi, meaning you have to have your own way and being strong-willed. When you were a little kid and there was a thought that you wouldn't be sent on to higher school, you sort of decided that you were going to develop a fever till your father agreed to send you to school. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that incident?
I don't know, it might seem acting, but I think body is not anything separate from the whole of us, mind or whatever like you want to call. The whole complex of us reacts to a situation. That's what I feel. If you will something, not in a philosophic manner, just simply if you will for something, you want it, your body cooperates. So, you want to do something, people are not listening to you, call it pretense, call you whatever, call you natures, as I say, complex whole form of us. The body helps you. You don't want to go, you don't want to listen to them. Well, you have argued, you have talked, but then the only thing which will persuade, maybe is cleverness, craftiness, develop a fever. You are not well. If you are not well, you will fall ill. Your parents will have to give in. So I think it is not willed that way. It is the whole of us, entire self, always reacts to a situation.
But was it unusual in your time for a girl to have been sent to school?
Yes, it was rather unusual. We lived in a town quite close to Delhi, Bulandshahr. And in 1944, ours was the first batch of high school of girls which appeared for the 10th class. So you can see what a small place it was, and what the background must have been, and why when, don't forget my age, when I talk, it is not normal for girls and boys to study together. No, not after 10 years. In any case, 10 years, she's past 8th class, and now what more does she want? I mean, marriage is marriage after all. So that was lived in those days. It was not a fiction. It was what it was.
And in fact, when you then wanted to go to college, even that was frowned upon. And as it happened, your Tayaji sort of was instrumental in trying to get your father to agree to send you to college. Will you relate that incident?
I don't know, not know. I'm not philosophic. I'm not philosopher. I don't say this is what happens is great. But I think somehow life spreads itself out the way you want it. You just make up your mind. I don't know, not even make up. I don't really know the word what I should use. You just have to will it. You want it, and I have seen all through my life the whole thing, the whole world seems to conspire to create situation to let that happen. As Sanjoy is referring to, being from a small town, there was no girls' college, and my father very rightly believed in those circumstances that a grown-up girl cannot study in the co-educational school. So since there was no girls' college, naturally my study should come to an end. At that very time, my uncle got transferred to Lahore, and he said, oh, well, I'm going to be in Lahore. She can come there and study. And that's exactly what happened. I was taken by my uncle, forced against the will of everybody, and again, of course, the joy of me which bloomed. Went to college. I went to the best college possible, I would say, Kinniat College for Women, Lahore. I again say, call it what you like. Call it a miracle, call it what you like. If you really be wanting to be something, the entire life unfurls in front of you, and you do exactly what you want to do.
The other major decision that you made in your life was actually to walk out of your first marriage. And again, in that time and place, obviously that was not something that was looked upon kindly. How did that play out?
You know, Sanjoy, to make the decision of in the atmosphere where girls were not even supposed to be educated higher than what they could have among the girls, or not go out, not travel in a tonga, travel only in a car, don't interact with any male, khandani, whatever. Now, what Sanjoy is asking, what did I go through? I think I went through. I didn't go through. I think family went through. All their values crashing down. For a father to think that the girl he had brought up so lovingly as the only girl, and pride of his heart and everything, and for her to reject the best person he thought he had found for her, I think he must have suffered, and he did suffer. So did my parents. But very interestingly, it was financial, serious problem, of course, not only emotional, because as I said, I was the only girl in a family of 6 uncles and all, much loved, much fussed over. It was a terrible financial problem. But surprisingly, looking back, I don't feel any pain whatsoever that I sometimes didn't have enough money because I took up a job, or I made up a mind. After BA I was married, so I made up mind I must do MA. I did, and then took up a job, and school teacher job, how much? And by the end of the month, sometimes I won't have enough money. But I nowhere talk about it, because I nowhere feel the pain. I don't at all feel that there wasn't enough money, that I was alone, and that sometimes, but once again I say, that people are always around. I didn't have a family, physical family, because I was disowned, whether in their heart or not, but they did because they had to. They can't sort of back a person doing such a terrible thing. But always, wherever I were, I had warm, kind people. It was always affection. That is what I want to reaffirm. We just care. I was in university town. There was a flood, 1956 it was. So I was going on a journey. I was not aware what was happening. The university had given the staff members very flimsy kind of two-room this thing. So there were other professors, other teachers where I had a place. It collapsed. When I came back, after being stranded for 2 days on the way, the train, I came and I saw there was no house. So just imagine, I was standing there with all my belongings where they would be and no house. Then the rickshaw said, look the other side, and saw that there were lights there. And we walked across, and I saw S.P. Mem Saab, who had always tormented me by being very patronizing. She opened the door, and I looked at her, and she said, oh, don't look like an orphan, I'm there. I didn't make any sense. I said, my house, don't worry, what would happen to your house if I were there? And that lady, when the houses were collapsing, I went there, took care to find another quarter for me and shift all my luggage and furniture intact. I again and again say, one is never without affection and warmth. There is always there.
The other thing that defines you, apart from being Ghamandi, and I've seen that at close quarters, is you've always stood up for justice, and you've always spoken up when there has been injustice, and more importantly, your sense of empathy. There are a few incidents in this book that you refer to. You refer to this young lad who used to love football, and you realized, or you saw him every day with a tattered shoe, without a soul, and you decided you'd buy him that. So can you tell us the 3 wonderful incidents that you talk about in this context?
You see, as I said, that I bear witness to 2 qualities amongst us. One is that irresistible warmth that we feel. We just want to care for people. We don't want to give any explanation, we care. We see somebody crying, we want to be there. We want to be there for people who need help. The other quality is that somehow we don't forget to assert ourselves as a person. We want warmth and affection, but we don't want to be a mesh. No. This boy was, yes, we have an individuality. I think the better word, khuddari, is the best word I can say, pride in yourself. The little boy, 16, 17, he used to supply cakes and whatever in the college tuck shop. And he hardly ever talked to anybody. He was just kept to himself, rattled around. But whenever he saw a football match going on on the college ground, he would just come to an abrupt halt, stand near the football field, holding himself like this as if he was afraid he'll spill over, and then dash in and try to kick the ball as far as he could and chased out sometimes. And in one of those attacks, I noticed that he hardly had any shoes. He had just tied the laces around the tattered canvas shoe and just kept, the front there, rubber is slightly stronger. So he kept the toes intact, the rest was hardly anything. I wondered why he's doing. Of course, it took me a second to why, because he couldn't afford. Then, as I said, we want people to be kind, but we don't want charity. That khuddari is there. This boy could have asked anybody to give me a pair of shoes. He didn't. He just managed. He managed. So, well, that challenge must be respected. So I stood somewhere. I made a signal to him in one of the evenings to give me something to eat, bun. I was one of the teachers there. professor there. So he came up. It was a, what you call, a amphitheater, like an open air theater. And I placed myself on third or the fourth, so he had to climb a few steps. And near a step just lowered, I had kept 2 packets of shoes. So when he was coming up, his eye naturally traveled there. He looked stunned. I extended my hand to the liver. He sat down. He looked at those pair of shoes, caressed it, then put one back. And then the one he took, he caressed it like this, packed it, put it under his arm, and walked off without looking back, without saying anything.
Will you share with us the story? There was a couple who was in love, and you were teaching them, or you were not teaching them, but they were in your college, and they were doomed for various reasons. Will you tell us what happened and how the principal called you? And
No, it was that title, that story is called Jito. As I say, she single-handedly was the whole of women movement of resistance. As it was done thing, the boys, it was college, she was studying in the BA final, will pass remarks about girls and all. The other girls will shy away, cover their face and all. But then this girl will stand there and say, "Ki kya?" No, she wouldn't. So I write, Jito's pride was smashed. And how? Well, she had to be expelled with the boy who had misbehaved. And it was such a pity that here was a girl who had the courage to defy, who was brilliant and all. So we, other lady staff members, one of them, I pleaded with the principal, so whatever it is, we can't let her down. We should do something. Of course, in that small university college, we couldn't take a stand of any other kind. So the principal agreed. We went to meet the girl. Now she's, of course, outcast. She has sinned. She has not sinned. Well, she was supposed to have sinned. So we persuaded her family, let her do her BA privately. Let her restore some self-respect to herself. So the family finally agreed, and we at college managed. We have to say 2/3 attendance in the college before you can appear as a private college. So we cooked up all those and hoped that Jito will one day again cycle out from the cobbled streets to the open streets of the city and be herself.
I'm going to read a little portion from the ballad that I was referring to.
One more example I want to give about affection. This is in Gangotri. So right at that height, I saw a lady, a woman, I should call, woman is the word, we'll describe her better, with her ghagara and with her dupatta, and walking up the hill, and I was walking down, and I noticed that her dupatta was blooming in a strange manner. So I went close by, and I saw each end of her dupatta was caught hold, 2 old women. So I looked at her, smiled. She said, "एक मेरी माँ है और एक अंधी सास है, किसको छोड़ के आती?" I again say, we just care.
I'm going to read from the end of this, and then what we'll do is I'm going to invite Urvashi and Sunandini up just to hold up the book, and then she's going to say a few words. But I'm going to read from the end of the ballad. The glacier of its own volition was rapidly sliding away, crackling, splintering, bubbling, sparkling, gushing out headlong into its own space. Unshuttered, she swam out to the ever longed for, ever cherished, the heaving. The heaving, the boundless ocean of feelings, the ocean of soaring imagination, of faith, of love, of trust. In time, saturated with its elements, invigorated, rejuvenated, she emerged as a person. Ladies and gentlemen, Prem Krishnan. Urvashi, can I ask you and Sunandani to join us for a second? I think Sunandani's left, so if you come up, Urvashi is the publisher of the book, and if you'd like to say a few words, and then we will leave it to Mrs. Krishnan to end this book launch. Come. Sunandani's been, and I think she's left. She's spoken. I acknowledged her in the beginning. Come.
Thanks, Sanjoy. Sorry, I was a little bit late because we had another session that was finishing. But I'm so delighted to be here for Mrs. Krishnan's discussion and second launch of this lovely book. It's a real honor and a privilege to have somebody like her who is a writer, wonderful writer, but has a wicked, wicked sense of humor. And also, I discovered in the course of our many interactions, is a lover of biryani, which when we first met over biryani, she sent back 5 times to get reheated because she was so busy talking about the book to me that the biryani got cold each time. And she sent it back, she eventually finished it. But it's a lovely book of really warm, really affecting stories and really brave stories. So do get hold of it, do read it, and have her sign it. And thank you so much for letting us do it.
Perhaps if you both hold the book, if you hold your book, and we can take a photograph of...
नहीं, ऐसे, हाँ, ऐसे कर.
If you put it down just a bit, you're covering your... Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And now, as we must leave the stage to her for her closing remarks, and thank you, and it's been an honor to have you here.
If you would indulge me for few minutes more, I want to sum up with some lines of poetry, poems which I scribbled. They may not measure up to the best of the meter and all, but I think that's the only way one expresses oneself. There are 2 qualities that we have, the love and affection, and always to remain ourselves, independent, khuda. So through these poems, I try expressing these 2 feelings. It is, of course, in Urdu and Hindi. घर के पीछे एक बदनुमा सी दीवार खड़ी हो गई है. ये दीवार घर कब बनेगी? क्या ये जब सीमेंट के रंग के कपड़े पहन लेगी तो ये दीवार घर बन जाएगी, या जब यहाँ के रहने वाले हमारे घर दही लेने आएंगे अपना दूध जमाने, यहाँ के लोग हमारे दुखों के धूप, हमारे सुखों के साए बांटकर हम साया बन जाएंगे, तब ये दीवार घर बन जाएगी. That is what the warmth of life is, the warmth that we need and give. Another point I feel is that person always guarding his individuality and must guard. This poem approaches a theme from the opposite direction. What happens to us? What people try to always reduce our personality, crush it. So, my age being what it is, so my references would be of the past. 1 or 2 things which young people or other people may not relate to is tarazu. Understand? Of course, you must have seen at least in the justice, this is tarazu. And then the person, the lala used to wait for you, he'll just touch the dandi, and then it will give a wrong kind of measurement. So here I write about what we should guard against. तमाम उम्र हम दूसरों की अकल के तराजू पर तुलते चले जाते हैं. अपनी अकल का पलड़ा न ऊपर होता है न नीचे. जब डंडी ही दूसरे के हाथ पकड़ा दी, अपने अकीदों के, असूलों के कोई बात ही नहीं उभारे तो खरा या खोटा सवाल, खरा या खोटा उतरने का सवाल ही क्या है। I end with what I call acceptance of life, which is not related to these two themes, which is my personal gratitude to life. यहाँ 2-3 लफ्ज़ ऐसे हैं जो शायद कॉमन नहीं है, पर उनको शायद मुझे समझाना ज़रूरी है, नहीं तो पोएम शायद समझ ना आए। बटोही, राह चलने वाले को बटोही कहते हैं। जब खुशी मिली तो इतना बेबाक हंसा के राह चलते बटोही भी बरबस हंसे। जब खुशी मिली तो इतना बेबाक हंसा कि राह चलते बटोही भी बरबस हंसे। और जब दुख हिस्से आया तो कोई शिकायत नहीं, कोई शिकवा नहीं, रहम की कोई गुहार नहीं, हर एक आंसू को पूरा जिया, हर एक आंसू को पूरा जिया। परवरदिगार यूँ तेरी हर अदा, हर अंदा को सिर झुकाए कबूल।
The incredible Prem Krishnan, thank you so much.